Welcome to mypersonalfootballcoach.com's Soccer Player Development Podcast. Discover all the secrets, hints and tips about soccer player development and soccer coaching from some of the leading figures in world soccer. Here's your host, Saul Isaacson-Hurst.
Hi guys, welcome back to another show. This week our guest is Paolo Migliavacca, who's head of the technical area of the 12s to 14s at Inter Milan over in Italy. Really privileged he agreed to come on the show. Really interesting hour of talking football. This is one of the reasons I started this podcast, is to find out more about different footballing cultures, what goes on at some of the biggest clubs in the world, what they do in their academies and their methodologies. So it was really interesting, engaging chat. Paolo's really open and a real top guy, and really interesting to see what goes on there, and obviously interesting talking about 1v1 and attacking play and trying to challenge some of the cliches about Italian football. Obviously we talked about, he talks about, I mentioned that Italian football being known for, its defending and a lot of stuff does off the ball, but obviously they're trying to change that and try and change the sorts of players they develop. So a real top podcast. I know you're going to enjoy it. Just remember the My Personal Football Coach app is now free, so the player pass is now free, so try and support as many players around the world as possible, so make sure you download it. Also really privileged that obviously we're working with some of the best clubs in the world in terms of their academies. The feedback we've been getting from our newest partner club in the pro club game, Arsenal, has been top draw. Great seeing their players engaging with the club partnership, and obviously we've got Middlesbrough and Wolves, and new clubs every week are now signing up all around the world for the My Personal Football Coach club partnership. Obviously with lockdown coming, if you're interested how we can support your clubs and players at this time with the world-class remote learning option used by some of the top clubs in the world, just drop me a message and I can set you up a demo, and we can see how we can support you guys and to take your coaches, your players and your club to the next level. But without further ado, let's get into the show. So Paolo Migliavacca, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for your invitation. Hi Saul.
Thanks so much for taking time. Can you just give us a brief sort of outline of your playing and coaching journey up to this point?
Okay, my role at the moment in the club is head of technical area, especially for the grassroots level, starting from the Old West under 14 to under 12. But sometimes happen that I help my colleagues with the youngest players starting from under 11 to under 9. So we have a big group in the pre-agonistic, and we try to form every player, starting with the first selection with under 9 until the last step of the grassroots level under 14, to prepare the players in the second step of the academy for the agonistic level. So I am the coach of the coaches during the last 6 years.
And so how long have you been at the academy at Inter Milan?
16 years.
16 years.
Yeah.
And so you always had that role that you have now?
No, this role during the last 6 years. Before I'm coaching all the teams in the grassroots level, so with under 9, 10, 11 until under 13. I started my experience with the Academy of Inter like an easy and simple coach of the soccer school, a project that started with the youngest kids to 5 years old to 7. So before the experience, my role is no professional clubs with always coaching the grassroots teams. So I've been more or less 22 years of experience of this role.
Wow. So just tell us how the academy is structured then at Inter Milan. You said grassroots and then the academy. So tell us how it works. I think it's a bit different than it is in England.
Yeah, we are a little bit different in Italy too, because usually the grassroots level is starting from the youngest under 9 or 8, or the soccer school under 7, under 6, until under 13. For us, during the last 5 years, we arrive until under 14, because for our organization, for our structure, we prefer to include under 14 in the grassroots level, but usually in Italy, under 14 is in the agonistic level. because they start to play 11v11. They start to play two half in 35 minutes. But for us, it's better because during the last period, we compose all the structure of the grassroots level with 2 teams for every age in the grassroots structure. And then in the agonistic, starting for under 15, we compose 1 team until under 19, because the under 19 is the last teams of the academy. But usually under 19 for us is considered another first team. So it's a sort of the second team, because we are very close with the first team for the players, for the methodology, for the level of our players. So in the grassroots level, we try to prepare all the players to approach in the agonistic level. And starting with under 15, we usually play a championship with the national, and the players became to go in the national team with the Italian Federation. So we are 2 different groups, pre-agonistic and agonistic.
Interesting. So you currently run the 12, 13, 14. You're head of the technical area, the 12, 13, and 14s. So then what about? Yeah. So then someone else does the younger age groups, head of the younger age groups as well.
Yeah, we started with the first selection with under 9. It's a small group of more or less 12, 13 players. And then with under 10, we compose 2 groups for every age. So under 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, we have a big group split in 2 with 2 different technical staff, but always during a normal training section week, they work together, they develop together, and they play friendly match, championship tournaments all together. Sometimes happen that some players with special skills, with special characteristics, play in the oldest group. So, for example, in this sports season, we have 4 under 14 that play with under 15, or 3 under 13 that play with under 14. It depends every sports season about the characteristics of the players.
Interesting. So let's start then at the bottom. Well, at the bottom of your pyramid, as we talk about in England. So you talk about a small group of 9. Tell us a little bit about the recruitment process. And you mentioned soccer schools with players even younger than that. How does that work? How does that feed into your first age group? Tell us about the recruitment for your first age group there at 9s.
Yeah, okay. We have a technical project. It's called Inter Soccer School, like a normal football club. This is a project for the youngest kids, starting with 5 years old until 7, and it's one of the part of our recruitment area. But then we have another scouting area with a head of scouting, with some scouts that work in our region, because in Italy, until under 15, we cannot sign the players that come from other regions, but just the players that come from Lombardia, because we are in Lombardia. So Milan, the city is Lombardia with other city. This is a Italian Federation rule. But the scouting movement started before. So we try to compose a little group at the beginning of the grassroots level, under 9. But for under 8, we start 1 year before to compose this group. And then every year we try to find new players. But the players that start at the beginning, minimum stay in our academy 3 years. Then just this line, we create a sort of a technical evaluation, and we decide, okay, most of the players go up and enter in the second level. Some players come back in another non-professional club or a different professional club. It depends on the level, depends on the number. More or less, every group starting with under 10 was composed by 20, 25, and then started with under 12 to under 14, more or less 30, 35 players.
Interesting. And so, I mean, I was in Lombardy at the beginning of the year, just remember driving through. So who are your sort of, obviously you have AC Milan, your big, and who else could you compete with players in that region?
Yeah, we are lucky and unlucky, because in our region there's a lot of professional clubs like us, AC Milan, Atalanta, Brescia, Cremonese, Como. So it's really important to have a good a good approach during the scouting moment, but during the technical moment, like every weekend happen. And this is important to have a good competition for every club. So every club try to scout the best talent, the best players in the region, and we try to find out with a technical project, because we have one technical project is called Inter Soccer School, another technical project is called CDF, is a sort of elite sports center with a non-professional club, a sort of affiliation, and a second level affiliation, it is called Inter Grassroots Program, but it's not a commercial, it's just to form this club about the technical stuff and then arriving for the scouting. But it's important to create a good relationship with the territory, a good relationship with all the staff and all the clubs that work in our region, and then arrive to find the best talent in the region.
How competitive is it, particularly with your noisy neighbours, AC Milan, as they say?
Yeah, it's a high-level competition, but we have a good relation because we try to do the same thing. We try to arrive to the same objective, so to discover and then form a professional football player. But you know that during academy period, for every players that enter in the academy, it's a long period, more or less. If they start at the beginning with under 9 and then arrive at under 19, more or less past 10 years. And during these 10 years, the competition with this club, the formation in the academy, and all the experience that we players is so big, so high level. So we try to do the best, but with a good relationship.
So you have a good relationship with the opposition, with your rivals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you play them in fixtures at 9s and 10s and 11s, AC Milan?
Sometimes happen during a tournament, because in Italy happen this starting from under 9 to under 12. We usually play a regional or a championship around the city with a non-professional club. They play with the old one. So sometimes happen we play against Milan during the championship, especially during the tournaments. Starting with under 13, start a regional championship with all the professional clubs of the region. So AC Milan, Inter, Atalanta, Brescia, Cremonese, and usually we play during the championship. But we are lucky because we participate with a lot of tournaments in our country or in foreign, in Europe, all around the world. And sometimes happen that we try to play against.
Yeah, no, when I spoke to a guy called Stefano who does a similar role to you at Lazio, and he said that Lazio don't play Roma in academy football because the rivalry is too crazy and the parents fight each other, so they're not allowed to play. I wonder if that was typical for Italian football.
Yeah, I know that Roma Lazio derby is a particular derby. They are so focused for the crew, for the fans. And for the academy happen the same. Here in the north part of Italy, for the derby about Inter FC and AC Milan, is a little bit different. It's an important match, it's an important game, and every time we try to do the best against the opponent. But it's not so focused like Roma and Lazio. A little bit different.
Interesting. So then, tell us a bit about then the typical week of an under 9 then at Inter Milan. How many times do they train? That sort of thing. How long are the sessions?
Okay, with under 9 we usually have 2 or 3 training sections for a week, and then 1 or 2 moments during the weekend where they play a game, championship friendly game or tournaments. This happened because usually happen this for 2 training sections we have the possibility to have transportation for the players. For the 3rd training, we have no transportation. And this happened during the under 9, 10, and 11. Starting with under 12, we have 4 training sections for a week with all the days with the transportation. So more or less, we have 80% of the players that they need to have transportation to arrive in our sports center, in our facilities, because Lombardia is big. And to arrive in Milan, in our sports center, is not so easy for all the family. And during the weekend, they have usually 1 or 2 games on Saturday and Sunday where they play.
Interesting. So how does that work? The transport? How does that? Is it buses or you get taxis?
The buses. We have 28 lines in our region that starting from different points in the region, in different parts of the region that come and back the players to arrive on the sports center and then come back home. So it's important for us because we have a really big number of players in the grassroots level, more or less 300, and the 80% of this number, they need the transportation, the buses.
Interesting. And then how long is each training session when the boys are training?
More or less 1 hour and a half, 1 hour and 45, because the time is 2 hours, but usually happen that not all the players arrive at the same time. So the specific moment for the training is more or less 1 and a half, 1 and 45 minutes.
And can you give us like a typical session we'd see, under 9 session? What would that be? Can you talk us through a typical session, maybe what they'd experience?
Yeah, the typical session is structured like this. We start with a warm up, usually with the technical and physical coordinative moments, more or less 15-20 minutes. Then we pass with the technical skills, develop the technical skills with analytic and technical situation. Then we pass to the third moment with game situation, easy game situation, starting from easy to complex. And then the final, we usually play a game, a normal game or a game with different rules. So we usually compose 4 moments during a normal training section. And this happens with under 9, but happen with the other ages.
So then you said like that technical, just give us an example of that technical work. What would that look like?
No, we started with the technical. The technical moment is the focus on the grassroots level. It's really important for every player to develop their skills and then transfer these technical skills in the game situation. So it's important to understand, okay, what can I do to kick, to pass, to receive in an analytic moment, but then it's really important to transfer in the game situation.
So can you give us an example of that then, what that one might look like? Is it like a drill or working in pairs?
A normal example is like 1v1 with dribble the ball and try to use some feint and fake the opponent, starting with different positions to try to kick and shoot on goal, or another easy game situation like 2v1. And it's important for the players to understand, okay, I can pass, but it's not important to pass, but to dribble. So it's important to have the ball, to have a good confidence with the ball. And then if the opponent is so high and strong with me, okay, I can pass and then try to collaborate with him to arrive to the complex to compose by easy small games like 2v2 with the joker or 3v3 with some rebounds around the pitch. So we try to build some different exercise that then replace what happened during the game.
And and how do coach work? Do they work from a curriculum, like a yearly plan? How does that work, or they're free to do what they want to do on the night?
We have a general technical program for the grassroots level that compose from different parts. So we try to focus on technical, tactical, and coordinated skills. Then to compose by 2 different moments, offensive and defensive phase. Then we have some assistant coaches that work for the specific moments, like futsal moment, like a specific role moment, like for the coordinative and goalkeeper moment. So we have a really big technical staff that compose head coach, assistant coach, physical coach, and goalkeeper coach. And then every coach with this guideline, they have the free moment to compose a different exercise. The base for everyone is high intensity. So every exercise they have to compose and propose to the players. It's important to propose with high intensity. It's really important because the football that for the professional world they play now is a high intensity. if you compare with the football that they played, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, is completely different for the speed and for the intensity during a game. And we try to take all the key, all the solution for the players to resolve game situation.
And what sort of players are you looking for at the youngest age group when you're recruiting? What are the main sort of things you're looking for and when you're talent identification?
At the beginning, the more important thing is technical skills. It's not important the body structure or other things, but the confidence with the ball and their ability with the ball. Then, when they growing up, we try to compose every team. The kids, especially during the period starting with under 12 to under 15 and 16, they changing a lot because their mature is completely different. Some players with early mature, some players with late mature, and we try to focus on the technical and tactical ability, especially for the mental thing, for the psychological mental thing during the when they play football. But the most important thing is the technical ability.
Interesting. And what about, say, for instance, in the game days, 9s and 10s? How many aside? How many on each team do they play? And formations and things like that? Yeah,
we start with under 9 and under 10. We play 7v7. Then they pass, starting with under 11 to under 13, they play 9v9. And then starting play 11v11, so normal football like the adults, with under 14. For us, it's really important, this classification, because it's important for the youngest play in a small pitch. We have the possibility to touch the ball a lot of time. It's not important the role, the position, because if you play like a center back in 7v7, you have the possibility to come up and score a goal. And we try to have a different experience for every player in a different position. Then when they arrive to play 11v11, we try to understand which is the best position, because they arrive in the mature level, but probably they can change during the next step. So in Italy, we changed this thing more or less 20 years ago, because a lot of time ago the young kids, they play 11v11, but it's impossible for them to enjoy and to touch the ball. So it's important for them starting with 7, then pass 9, and then arrive 11. And insert in our technical program the futsal methodology. So the open skills about the sensibility, about the mental situation during the transition time, and we try to insert this methodology in the grassroots level.
Futsal, you said.
Yeah, futsal. Yeah.
So how does that fit into your program? How often do you do that, the boys?
We have a specific assistant coach. He play in a pro water with futsal in Italy. And he insert in our technical program during the training section different moment, more or less 15 or 20 minutes, with small groups, and develop the technical skills, the transition skills, the coordinative skills about futsal. So they use the futsal ball, so they have no rebound. They use a futsal pitch, so 5v5, and with under 14. We play a regional professional championship, and we compare with a futsal championship during a normal sports season. So they make this different experience.
Interesting. And so let's talk about then the 12s, 13s, and 14s. This is your role. You're managing this section. So tell us a little bit about that. Then the 12s, then they play 9v9, right?
Yeah.
And so, can you give an example? What sort of formations do the boys play, and what's the approach on game day like?
It's important for them discover new spaces and what they do in these spaces. So they approach to arrive to play 11v11. The pitch is a little bit small because usually they play starting from the area line to the opposite area line, but with the same large meter. We usually play with 3 defender or 2 defender in the center and 2 wings. It depends for the characteristics of the players. And then all the players try to develop a good possession ball, the high intensity to arrive to score a goal. If they lost the ball, they try to reattack suddenly to catch the ball and we restart and attack the opponent goal. So it's important. It's not important the position. It's important the mentality during the game. So they try to stay high. If the opponent start with the ball on the ground, we try to pressure suddenly and catch a ball and score a goal. So it's important for them to have focus on the pitch.
So you want to control possession and press high up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. And so tell us then, like with the under 12s, and tell us a bit about that. Their average week. You said they train 4 times a week. Is that right?
Yeah. They train 4 times a week, so it's a good moment for them.
And they'll play 1 game as well. 1 game or 2?
1 or 2 games, depend, because we have big groups, a lot of players. So all the players they have the opportunity to play a game. They usually play every game with 3 times with 20 minutes for each time and for each half. So we usually have during the Saturday the championship and during the Sunday friendly match, test match, tournaments. So a lot of game during a sports season. More or less with under 12 we play 180, 190 game during a 10 month.
Wow, that's a lot of games.
Yeah. It's important for us to play a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. So how many players have you got in the 12s there, for example?
36.
So that's a big group.
Big group split in 2. Yeah.
So that's a massive. That's a big. Like compared in England, we'd have maybe 12s. You'd have 20, and that would be a big number, maybe. As we'd say in England as a generalisation. So that's it. So it's 36 players. I suppose that's why you have to play so many fixtures, because the game time is managing the game times is a challenge, right?
Yeah. We changed this direction during the last 5-6 years. Before we have just 1 group composed by 18, 20, but we need to have more time to form the players. So we prefer to take the players in the grassroots level and then decide later what's happened, because during this period they're changing a lot and it's really easy to make mistakes for the evaluation of the players. So we prefer to create a big group, split in 2 different head coaches, different assistant coaches to work together with this player, and they need to have opportunity to play, and then later have a technical evaluation for their future.
So it's interesting. So that actually that group of 36 is actually split in 2. You split that group into 2 18s or whatever it is, and they train separately.
No, they train together. They train together. We create during the normal training week different groups. So we try to mix all the players.
Okay, right.
The 2 groups is just to organize during the weekends the game moments for the championship, for the tournaments. But during the training, it's important that they train together. And we insert during the last period the biobanding methodology. So for the biological age, it's important to divide the players. Yeah.
So then I was going to ask that. How do you split the group? So have you split them with the biological age? Then you have maybe the younger players in one group and the older ones in the older, or?
A little bit. We try to understand the characteristics, how many times they stay and arrive in our academy, the role position that they usually play during the game. So create a really normal group. It's not one group a little bit stronger and one group is a little bit lower. No, okay. We try to similar. It's important for them to understand everything we try to learn.
And so how do you decide who plays the championship game or not? So if you've got AC Milan coming up, the big game, who plays?
We try to mix because all the 2 groups play a championship, and sometimes happen that one group in October play against AC Milan, and then the other group play with AC Milan in March. So it's important to have the same opportunity for all the players.
So it's interesting. So you have 36 boys training in the 12s, but you have 2 teams of coaches there, so they're mixing it up. That's interesting. Can you give us an idea then what like a typical session would look like for those guys?
Like I said before, so we create 4 moments, a technical and coordinated warm-up, then a technical application for the technical skills with the coaches and with the assistant coaches, then the easy and complex game situation to transfer all the technical ability in the game situation, and at the end the game normal or with different rules. So we try to create always 4 moments, try to work not just with all the group together, but split in different small groups. It's important this to observe and to correct every mistakes during exercise. It's important for them to understand, okay, I make a mistakes, what can I do to play better? What can I do to develop my characteristics? It's
interesting because Italy has always been known as, tactically, always very famous for your tactics and your defending. That's the most things. So how often do you work on defending, and how in depth do you get tactically with the boys at 12s, 13s, and 14s?
Yeah, we try to change, but our history said this because during the past moment, Italy is famous for the catenaccio and to defensive line, and then we start to find the free space in the higher part of the pitch. But I think that during the last 20 years, we have a lot of input from other football schools, like Spanish Federation, like German Federation, like English. So all the Euro Federation try to change this. During the period from under 12 and 13, we work in a tactical direction, but it's not the most important part of the work. So it's important for them individual tactic situation and not collective. The collective is just to have an idea when they play a game, but the percent of the work during the training section is not tactic for the collective part, but for the individual part. So every player try to understand which is the best solution, what can I do with the ball or without, in a different part of the pitch, with the opponents, with the teammates. So this is really important. Then in the agonistic level, starting a little bit the tactical situation for the collective part, for the I don't know, we play 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, but this happens later, not during the grassroots level.
Because I mentioned, what would be the difference in what you're delivering tactically between the 9s, 10s, 11s and the 12s, 13s, 14s? Is there progression, or is it still, your 1v1, 2v1s, your small-sided and your game? I mean, what is there progression there? I mean, what's the difference?
We try to create always a 1v1 situation, because when they play 7v7, 9v9, the 1v1 is always happening in all the parts of the pitch. A little bit different when they play 11v11, but it's important to them to have a really more comfortable sensibility with the ball, and not they think that, okay, I have to pass. It's important to have the ball and then to dribble and then to play better with my opponent. And then it's important, okay, passing and receiving, but it's important to have really good confidence with the ball. They have no scare to pass the ball. Okay, I have my ball, what can I do? And it's important to understand later, when they continue to play 11v11, with the tactical situation, with more difficult tactical situation, and they understand other difficult things. But during the grassroots level, it's important to understand to create always 1v1. If they have free space, dribble the ball, arrive in the area and shoot, and not, okay, I can stop, or okay, I have to pass. No, it's important to have comfortable with the ball.
Interesting. Tell us a bit about that 1v1 work. It's a big part of what I do, and we always promoting it. How do you structure that? do you have, like, how much support do you give the players in terms of solving the problems, like 1v1 skills? Is there a bank of skills? What does that look like?
Yeah, we create a specific and unspecific moments with 1v1. Specific because I have an opponent, I have a goal, I have a keeper, and I try to score a goal. And starting maybe in a different part of the pitch with long space or short space, it depends. We can create different exercise. Or a specific, if I want to focus for the technical skills to use right foot and left foot, I can organize in a square. I can organize in a different structure to use geometrical figure and create always a race. It's important for the young kids to have a race to try to bet the opponent, to arrive in the line, to arrive in a free space. This is really important for them, to have the motivation to have the ball and try to beat the opponent.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier about the different skills, the fakes and stuff. Do you have like a bank of skills you use to support the players? If the player's struggling, you say, right, try this skill, or is it more of like a guided discovery, freedom type thing?
Yeah. Try to discover free moments, and then we try to help the players, and especially for the defensive moment. We have an assistant coach that we usually play and coach with all the players, not just with the defender, and try to transfer all the idea when they have the ball. Okay, I know the ball, my opponent has the ball, what can I do? I try to pressure, I try to stay and try to move my body to have a run or then later have a pressure. So it's important for them to understand what can I do in a different part of the pitch. If I have to close my goal, okay, it's important to stay close to the opponent. If I have much more space, I can run later, and then I try to read everything. So it's important for the players make different experience, not just the same experience.
And tell us about game day then, in terms of how important is winning the game and how performance over potential, that sort of thing.
This is a big and normal question because I think that everyone likes to win in football, in every sports, in every game. But the difference is what's happened later the game. So if we win, we are happy, or if we lose, we are not happy. But the difference is about from us, from the adults, for the coaches, the technical staff, and from the parents too. So I know that every player wants to win, but if sometimes happen that we lost, it's not important. Maybe we play a good game. We make all the things that we work in that period, and sometimes happen that the opponent are too strong and they beat, or we are lucky, and in football situation happen this. So we try to do the best. This is the important thing. If we win or lose, is not so important to all the situation. So it's not important to win the championship. It's not important to win the tournament. We try to do, but if it don't happen, okay, we analyze and we try to do better next time. So this is important to transfer this mentality to the players.
And so you said, and how long is each game? You said 320 periods?
320 until under 13, and 235 starting with under 14, and then 240 and 45 with the old one. Yeah.
Interesting. So, for instance, you're playing a game 9v9. How many subs will you take on the game day?
Usually, for the Italian Federation rule, in the second half, all the players that stay on the bench enter is obligatory, and then during the third half you can make what you want. So every player play 20 minutes in a game, but we try to play the same time until under 12 and 13. Starting with under 14 happen some game a player play a full match or 10 minutes, but the game later they change, and at the end of the sports season we try to make the same opportunity for every player, so the same time for everyone.
So how many will you have in a squad on a day, on a 12s? How many players will be in that squad on game day for the game?
If we have the possibility to take all 18, we take all 18.
All right.
Or if we have different game, one Saturday, one Sunday, we split. So some players during a weekend play 2 games, and another player play 1. The next weekend, the same player play 1, and the other one play 2. So we try to mix every time.
It's interesting. You take a squad of 18, so then 9 come off. So maybe everybody's playing 30 minutes of football, maybe.
Yeah. Same time, more or less. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So in England, we play normally it's 4 20s. They play 80 minutes, so 4 periods of 20, and then it goes up when they're a bit older. But it's just interesting because I suppose 30 minutes is not a very long time. I suppose that's why you have to play more fixtures.
Yeah, it's not a long time, and this is the reason we try to organize during every weekend, not just one game, but more games. It's important to have much more time for the players to play a game.
So how do you do? You're organising games. How do you find these teams? Do you play local teams, but the year up or something, so you get more of a challenge?
Yeah, we have a normal championship on Saturday, and during the Sunday we organize with other professional club or not professional club, or we have every sports season a lot of invitation from different tournaments. So it's important for us to participate and play different games. Especially happened this during a tournament that I don't know how long is 1 day or 2 days. We are not the same time like during the championship, so 3 half by about 20 minutes, but maybe one game during 15 minutes, but you play 7 games during a day, about 15 minutes, so long time.
How many tournaments do you think you play every year in the 12s, for example, or 13s?
Under 12, more or less 40, 45 tournaments.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, give you an example. When I was at Chelsea, maybe with Tottenham, Chelsea were more. The boys maybe they do 3 or 4 tournaments. That would be a good year for them.
Yeah, because sorry, we have a lot of tournaments in Italy. A lot of tournaments that invited from all over the Europe or world, and we try to participate about. All the invitations, so it's important for us to play a lot of games. Yeah,
I've always thought that's quite interesting because I noticed like the teams Ajax, Anderlecht, similar thing. A lot of Central Europe, obviously, it's on your doorstep. You play a lot of tournaments, and obviously, it's a big advantage. That tournament experience, that competitiveness is very unique, right? Having to see a game out and win, that 1-0 up. How important is that experience for young players?
Yeah, it's important, but the reason is. Until probably 25 years ago, all the kids play close to home, play with the friends after the school, play every time, and then play with the club. Now it's completely different. In Italy, happened this now. So they have to go to school, and if they know the training or the game with the club, they not play football. So we try to organize much more activities for them, not just to train, but just to play football. It's important for them to play football a lot of time. So this is the reason we try to organize this structure, training session, game, tournament, and championship. Because for this moment is a social problem. The kids, they not play football when they not go to the club.
Yeah, the death of street football is like a worldwide.
Yeah, exactly. Street football until 20 years ago is really important for everyone, for every player. In fact, in Italy, the academy start with under 14, 15, and 16, not before. Now you start with under 8, 7, 6 because they need to play. If they don't go in a club, they don't play football in the street or at home or everywhere.
I imagine, generalize, one of my favorite ever players, Baggio. I imagine he was a street type player. We have talked about same here, problems with death of street football.
Exactly.
I was going to ask you, like, where are all the, those famous Italian number 10s, Baggio, Del Piero, all these superstars. Interesting. I mean, do you think that is a reason why as well, the death of street football, maybe you don't have that conveyor belt?
Exactly. Baggio arrived in a professional academy. I remember probably when he were 16 or 17. Before he played in a normal club close to home and play in the street. And he's a talent. Okay, he's born with these characteristics, but all the structure that now every academy composes for the players, he didn't know. And then discover later when they as adults. And probably this is the reason that during the last 20 and 25 years, we have no the Italian player with these characteristics like Baggio, Totti, Del Piero, and the other one. Because all the players, they start in the young period to have a mentality, a structure, and not to play free.
Yes, so I was going to ask you that. How do you try and foster that creativity then in the academy? How do you try and create those individuals, those unique mavericks, we call them in England?
Yeah, we try to build a pathway to have a good creativity during the exercise. So we compose and build every exercise, but in the exercise we try to leave the players to decide in a free moment what can they do. And this is important. Sometimes the coaches want to have the control of everything, but it's important that the players is the most important thing, not the coach. So we try to transfer this mentality.
And there's a big debate in England, well, there has been in the past about decision making and working isolated training to game-based practice. What's your thoughts and stance on that?
About the English football?
Well, no. So, say for instance, there's the debate in football now, coaching fraternity in the world. Some people say everything should only be done in a game. Some people say it's benefit to do some things out of the game in isolation, technical work, for example. What's the stance of the academy in Italian football generally?
Yeah. The focus is the technical. The decision makers is important because they try to understand what's happened during a game. Sometimes happen that some football culture, like 10 years ago, the tiki-taka from Barcelona discover a new methodology, but it's completely different if you have a top players or if you have a normal players. So you can transfer the idea, but the result is not always the same. So for me and for our technical staff in our academy, it's important to transfer the technical skills and then the tactical situation for the decision making. So I think that this is the future for the creation of the top professional football player.
So you're talking about like a balance, a bit of a combination of the two. Yeah. Interesting. And then, so tell us a little bit about then. So 13s, if the players move up to 11 aside when they're 14s, right? Is that 14s?
Yeah, under 14. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that transition. What formation does the academy? Do you have like a formation you want the boys to play? Is there like an academy formation you revert to in terms of the 11v11?
Yeah, they discover that when they start to play 11v11, they have much more space on the field, on the pitch. But the rules and the characteristics are the same that they play 9v9 and 7v7. So the transition is an important moment. I said before, for us it's important they stay high and pressure with a strong pressure the opponents. And sometimes happen, we find a strong opponents that they play better than us and arrive in our area. Okay, we try to stay close, and then when they catch the ball, we start. The difference is they have 4 players, much more than when they play 9v9. They have the long spaces in the area. And sometimes happen this during the first part of the under 14 sports season. they try to discover all the big spaces around them. But after 5-6 months, they understand this. They changing, their body structure changing and mature, so they play better.
But do you play like a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, or do you have like a? What's your
it depends. It depends.
Right.
It depends. Just we play always with the 4 defender in the line, always 4 defender, and then depending for the characteristics of the players. Sometimes we play 4-3-3, sometimes 4-4-2, sometimes 4-2-3-1. It depends. Every sport season we change about the characteristics of the players for every ages.
Interesting. And tell us a little about, you mentioned it pretty early about your the strength and conditioning, the S&C stuff. You got a coach. Tell us a little bit about that in your program. How important is it? How does it sit in line with your technical and tactical work?
Yeah, they stay in our technical stuff. They work every training with the players, more or less 10, 15 or 20 minutes. The most important thing is the coordinative skills. But when they arrive in under 13 and 14, they start to understand speed, strength, and endurance, but always with the game situation or easy exercise. The really physical education started with under 15 and with the oldest team, like under 16, because they start to go on the gym to start the warm-up with the physical situation. But before, in the grassroots level, all the exercise, or more or less all the exercise, they conduce with the balls, not without.
So how much would they do, for example, in the 12s? How long would they do in the S&C stuff in one session?
For example, with under 12, they have a moment with the physical coach, about 20 minutes. We divided the groups in small groups. So, example, 10 players works with the physical coach. The other 10 or 15 train with the head coach, and the other one with another assistant coach. So we create different moments, and after 20 minutes they change the situation. So all the players make the same thing: physical, technical, and tactical, and changing around in this situation.
And also, tell us now, see, Lombardi was famously in the central of the COVID outbreak. What did you do? How did you cope with that challenge? How did you support your players during those tough times?
The most important thing, a difficult thing, is the mental situation. During the first part of the COVID situation, so this spring, the last spring, is not like now, because probably we pass the first part of the last sports season that we have a normal situation, training game, and then we stop for the next 3 months. We organize with the Zoom platform or the video call to stay together, speak together, watch some videos, speak about football or the game for the professional world. And it's important for them to have a positive input. Then in the new season, this season, we start with a little program because the COVID situation is not so easy for all the clubs. And then we stop 1 month, 1 month ago, and we create the same situation. So with the online platform, we organize video call, stay together, speak together, speak about football and watch different things, connect with other clubs, different clubs. We have an elite working group with different clubs come from Europe. For England, example, with Southampton. And we try to connect this situation and create the situation for the technical staff and for the players too.
Interesting. And tell us about yourself, Paolo. How do you keep yourself fresh, and how do you develop yourself?
I try to discover always new things. I'm lucky because during the last 16 years I work in an important professional club in Italy, and during this period I had a lot of experience all around the world. about the tournaments, about the convention, about the formation, about technical stuff. And it's important for me continue to develop the formation about the coaches. And I think that every coach, it's important to understand which is the best position if you want to coach the grassroots level or the agonistic level, or you want to coach an adult, so the first team, because I think that, in my opinion, is a three different job. If you work with the youngest kids, you have a mentality completely different from if you coach a first team, and changing the objective, changing the targets, and changing the communication with the players. And I try to discover always new things, to speak with my colleagues, to speak with other colleagues that come from different sport culture or football culture. So it's important to develop every time.
And then just finally, how do you judge success in the academy? What's a successful season or seasons for you in the academy?
To form professional players. Our objective is arrive at the end of the academy, have a lot of players that can enter in the professional football world. During the last 10 years, Inter Academy form a lot of professional players. The top objective is entering our first team, but it's difficult. But if you form a professional players that play in Serie A, second division or third division, okay, you arrive of your objective. So it's not important, like I said before, the result of a game or result of a championship, but the most important thing is to form a professional player.
I think it's challenging because I've worked at big clubs as well. I mean, as you know, at the top end, at the level, getting players integrated is so difficult, isn't it? In terms of getting the opportunity, because the level is so high. You're such a massive club. So what do you do to challenge that? Do you have, like in England, do we have a lot of loan? We have a real big loan system, players going out. What do you do in Italy to try and bridge that final gap, maybe?
In Italy, it's a bit different, and I think this is a problem because we have the last part of the academy with under 19 group that's usually work with the first team, but we have a second team. Just Juventus during the last two years have the second team that they play in a professional championship in the third division. And I think this is important for the young players to enter in a professional world, to play in the first team, to discover what is important, the 3 points to arrive on top and to play with the adults. And probably this is the challenge for the Italy movement in football situation. I know that in England, in Spain, in France, in Germany exists the second team, and all the young players arrive in the second team and then arrive in the first team. So probably this is a good solution to develop and growing up.
And then last question: when's Italy going to win the World Cup again? No pressure.
I'm not the magic ball. I'm not the magic ball. Our last World Cup is in 2006.
Yeah, you did better than we are anyway, so I'm not.
I know. And now at the moment we have a good first national team, and I hope during the last probably 10 years. So we hope to try to do the best. But in Europe, it is a really good challenge because other country like England, Germany, France, and Spain and Portugal are a very strong team. So we hope to try to do the best to win in the next 10 years in the World Cup. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Thanks very much, Paolo. It's been fantastic. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Saul. It's a pleasure for me. So see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the MyPersonalFootballCoach.com Soccer Player Development Podcast. MyPersonalFootballCoach.com's Dynamic Ball Mastery Program is the world's leading online individual technical training program, proven and developed at the highest level in the English Premier League. Sign up now to train like the pros and take your game to the next level. Master the ball, master the game.